we have Mr. Cheese. I'm going to call him Mr. Cheese. I don't know if he prefers to be called Mr. Cheese. And we've got him on mute, so he can't tell us either way. We have Cheese. We have Cheese with us, who is working on a very interesting game called Winter's Wake. Now, this is based off an engine that he is also developing, which we really want to talk to him about. And while we were doing a bit of research on Cheese, we found that he's also worked on like 10 million other things, usually simultaneously, from what we can tell. So without further ado, let's jump in and meet the man. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Cheese. Thanks for coming on. Whilst we get the game going, what's your quick elevator pitch for the game? Cheese is here. He said some amazing things that you missed out on, and he's not going to repeat them, so...
No, one time only.
One time only. I guess you actually...
This message will self-destruct.
This message will self-destruct. I guess you actually get a do-over on your elevator.
Yeah, that was
pitch.
good, because I totally fluffed the take.
See, it was intentional. We did it to help you.
Yeah, it was a practice run. So you've got a fixed position camera inside a 3D world, and you rotate that camera around using normal mouse lock style controls, normal first-person shooter style camera controls, and whatever you're facing, I give you a text description of. So in a traditional text adventure, you might type "look west," but in this game, you just turn to face west, and it'll tell you what's there. So it's also got the background is tinted based upon the average of what would be visible if you could see. So when you look up, it might be blue for the sky, or when you look down, it might be green for the grass.
That's so cool.
And then when you, it's also got positional audio, so as you turn around, you can hear the world moving around you. And then mechanically, it kind of plays out like a single verb point-and-click adventure.
That's so cool. Now, can you play with the controller, or you have to play with the keyboard and mouse?
Oh no, you can play with a gamepad, and just so that you can see, I've printed out this handy reference.
Ooh, there you go. That's all right. Do you want to pick up the?
Yeah, you can play with a gamepad.
Okay.
It should be pretty intuitive, I hope. I tried to make it accessible for normal first-person style gamepad controls.
That's so good. So which button is to fire the sniper?
How am I going to shoot dudes if I can't see them?
This is a tricky thing, like to take videos of and to show off, especially at PAX. I was like, this isn't going to fly. Like, nobody's going to be interested in reading a bunch of garbage like this. It's nice garbage. I wrote it. It's fantastic. But it's just not a good fit. It's boring to watch videos of. Screenshots are not interesting. But yeah, I was just so surprised at how well received it was.
Was there any particular method you used to entice the crowd? Because you certainly enticed us.
Oh my god, that was the best thing I've seen.
Yeah. So you guys remember my lovely stall,
yes.
Which is probably the first thing that caught your eye. I've even got my T-shirt on here.
Oh yes,
you can read.
Oh, it's so good. You see a developer. That's amazing.
And yeah, so like everything I did was kind of like push this whole reading thing, and I figured like it was all an attempt to try and make sure that I wasn't attracting people who wouldn't be interested in my game, because I'm kind of like, how much time do I want to spend justifying what it is that I'm doing to people who don't care about it anyway?
That's a really
So
good
I was
point.
like, I'll make it as verbose as possible and get people to bounce off as early as possible. And it turned out that just coincidentally happened to be what would resonate really, really well with everyone else. So yeah, it turned out really well. And my business cards are kind of the same. I don't know how well. Let me see if I can get this to show up on the autofocus.
Actually,
yes, that's right.
I will bring it up.
What? Look at that.
You receive a small card for an unusual game. That's so cool. Oh, man. I love it. I love that it's very, very consistent theming across the whole thing.
But I figure like it also gets me off the hook. I started doing it because like I said, I didn't have much practice at explaining it, and it's kind of a weird concept. It's difficult to describe succinctly. So I was like, well, if I tell you that I've described it to you and that you're interested, then I'm off the hook.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. That's right. The onus is now on the player to basically decide. That's
right,
great.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So you're currently controlling, so you're moving around in a 3D space. So do you kind of feel that as you're moving around, you can see where you kind of can see where you're going in a way?
A little bit. I was just going to say real quick, like I'm not someone who likes point-and-click adventures and that sort of stuff, but seeing your banner at PAX, I was just like, hot dang, I need to know about this game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, it just drew me right in. Just reading it, I'm like, man, if this is what I'm in for, I'm down.
So you can look up and down as well.
Yeah. Look at that. I feel like the
Okay, so you got that icon there on the side. It's just like a triangle in the itch build at the moment. So you got the cool build.
We do have the cool build. There you go.
All the way to the ground.
Okay,
Awesome.
so do you want to have a look around, see what you can find?
Absolutely.
So I really wanted to give people a sense of like being in a space and existing in a space in ways that were like really imagination oriented. Because I feel like when you read a book or when you play a text adventure or whatever, you're imagining it in your mind and you're contributing something to your experience that you're not contributing when you play more visual type experiences. I think that gives you a greater sense of ownership over your experience as well.
I completely agree with that.
It's kind of like, it doesn't matter whether you imagine the tree to be tall or short, as long as you imagine it, whatever you imagine is right. You know, like it's not my place to tell you that it's wrong. You get your own kind of customized, you know, experience that's unique to you, and I think that's kind of interesting. You know.
Oh, sorry, am I moving the mouse? There you go. I completely agree with that. I remember when I was younger, I used to read the Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventures, and there's nothing more frightening than the monster that you can create in your own mind.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that concept.
Oh,
What are you doing? What are
I
you
did a
doing?
thing. I did a thing.
What are you doing? Jesus.
What did you do? Did you go
got-
back to the menu?
I clicked in the right left stick. By the way, I'm going to be your best beta tester ever. Like, I will find everything that's wrong with the game. By accident. Always.
That's good.
It's all good. So clicking left stick took you back to the menu? What kind of gamepad are you using? I guess that's the other thing, is that I knew what I was exhibiting with at PAX, and I just made it work to that. It doesn't have button mappings for...
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're using an Xbox One controller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using, I don't have it here, but Logitech F310.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now,
Although I was able to actually accomplish stuff when I played Barry.
Well, I'm just like, woo! The sky looks really good, and that ground looks good.
Try the triggers for use. They'll probably work. Maybe.
That's so cool. So you
So
also
it's two-player, right? It's co-op, where you got like one person plays with the mouse and the other person goes, what are you doing?
That's how dynamic. That's how we tend to work.
Now, well, Barry Butcher's playing this game. I would love to know more about the engine, because you created the Icicle engine as well. So so can you tell us a little bit about how that came about? How come you didn't just use something that was existing, or was nothing that existed really doing what you wanted it to do?
So I started development for a game jam. It was the last 7-day FPS challenge, which was in 2014. And I thought this year I'll do something a little bit different from what I did last year and the year before. I try and do something different every year, but I was like, what would a text adventure look like if it was VR friendly? And so I came up with this kind of concept, and I did a lot of prototyping in another engine just so that I could get things going quick. But the nice thing about game jams is they're very specifically scoped. So you can kind of go, well, I'm only dedicating a week to this project, so it doesn't matter if I kind of cork things up. I can use this time to experiment, right? So I was like, well, I want to see how hard it is to draw a triangle on the screen, and I sort of started to do things, and as this kind of style of game that I was trying to make sort of coalesced, I did realize that my needs were so narrow and so specific that it made sense for me to write my own engine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I've also written a bunch of editor tools to go along with it that I hope will make the engine accessible to people who don't have programming experience, people who would like to set up these kinds of environments and be able to write for these kinds of games without necessarily having to know how to do all the work. And I kind of figure like if you want to make something like this in Unity or Godot or Unreal or whatever, like it's probably a lot less effort than I've been putting in, but it's also really rewarding. I feel like you can't truly understand the wheel until you take the time to invent it.
That is a fair point.
That's awesome, yeah.
It's been a good journey. I don't know if I'd do it again, but it's been
it's been a journey.
So I really like that concept of opening it up to someone that doesn't understand programming language but still is 100% a creator. So is the idea to have like a GUI or like some sort of like editor system that they can just jump into?
Yeah, it's already kind of mostly in there. It's still pretty rough around the edges, but there's like a grid, and you just go Control N, and it plops a new scene down on the grid, and you plop a few more scenes down, and then you go click and drag between them to make an exit, and it'll automatically put exits within the scene. You double click on the scene, you drop some objects down, you drop some sounds down. And then there's also a puzzle editor, which expresses itself as sort of like a puzzle dependency chart designer. And then it kind of hooks everything together, and you get a game out the other end, if you're lucky.
That's so cool, because I actually understood everything you just said. It actually distills it to a point where if you understand how to create a branching story, all you need to do is create a branching story. You don't need to worry about all the other stuff.
Yeah,
which
exactly
is that is super cool. I really love that concept.
Yeah, I think I'm having trouble with this.
Guys, you're
control.
right
I think I'm
there,
going
mates.
to use the mouse and keyboard.
Are you sure that you're
Yeah.
not
Hold
just...
on.
Yeah.
Let me just
Do it.
Did you unblock
So,
it?
so it's probably difficult to read all of the lovely cues that I've written out there while we're talking, but the scene description talks about how you've been involved in an avalanche, you got a broken leg, and you can't leave the scene until you find something to use as a crutch. And it mentions that there's a branch underneath a tree to the northish.
Hint, hint, hint.
Mhm.
Hint, hint,
Hint,
hint.
hint, hint. I don't understand. What's a north?
What's a north?
So did you just see an oak tree for a
I
second?
certainly
there?
did.
There you go.
All right, awesome. All right,
So when you see a little icon in the bottom right, you can interact with something.
Gotcha.
So maybe you could look...
Oh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
See, this is so out there for me. Like, obviously, like not having any visual cues whatsoever, and just sort of having to be like use your intuition and think a little bit. That's a very strange idea to me. So that's
Did you pick up the
It takes a bit of getting used to as well. Like I feel like I can describe it for an hour, and then people sit down, and after 10 minutes they go, "Oh wow, I get it."
Yeah.
yeah.
It is interesting. It is one. I agree with you that it must be difficult to talk to someone about because you really do need to sit in front of it and actually give it a shot. Even a video, I don't think would really do it justice.
Yeah. A video is a pretty tough sell. I think I shot myself in the foot by making a game that's not really like any other games. I can't say it's like Myst without also saying it's nothing like Myst, or I can't say that it's like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy without also saying it's nothing like The Hitchhiker's
That's right. That's right. Guys, you
I
made
went
it somewhere. I'm
somewhere.
so proud of you. I'm so
Woo!
proud of you.
Listen to those lovely footsteps.
See,
so
it's,
crunchy, sounded
Ella
great.
Poppet on the chat has said Barry and thinking don't go well together.
See, he knows what's up.
That's pretty accurate. And actually, guys on the chat, I know there's quite a few of you there. If you have any questions for Cheese, type them up and we'll ask them to him as well, because I know he has a lot of interesting things to talk about. So, Cheese, I want to ask you, because I did a bit of research into all the other stuff you're working on as well. So,
Wow.
apart from this, what are your...
You're not going to make me list everything, are you?
I'm not going to make you list them all.
Okay, because we don't have time for
We
that.
don't have time for that. What's your primary projects other than Winter's Wake that you're working on? Like the primary stuff.
So I would say that Winter's Wake right now is my primary personal project as like a game developer. I'm also the thing that's eating up the most amount of time right now is I'm doing some contracting with Defiant Development, who just released Hand of Fate 2.
Yes, I saw that.
And that is that's pretty full on. Doing some very long days on that, but that should quieten down over the coming week, which can be a lot of fun. I recently shipped the Linux port of Full Throttle Remastered, which was cool. But I don't know what's recent. I mean, that was August, I think. I don't know. Time and I have a really interesting relationship.
I can imagine. I think
I also
so go on.
be working on a game called The Away Team, which is this hypertext adventure. If you're familiar with that sort of thing, where it like shows you some text and then you got some links that you can click on to see the next options. Kind of like the dialogue in Morrowind, I guess.
I actually played The Away Team.
You did?
I did. Because we have press access on Itch.io or Itch.io.
Yeah, sweet.
And so I jumped on and I was playing that for probably a good 6 hours.
I bought it on a whim because the developer said, here's a Linux port.
Yeah.
I made this because I kind of want to give back a little bit. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll give this guy $6 or whatever it was. And then I played 20 minutes and I went, holy shit, this is my kind of thing.
Yes.
I contacted the developer and said, hey, I found a couple of these bugs. I'd love to help you resolve them. And like by the end of the week, I had commit access on the repo. It's like the fastest project I've ever gotten involved with. But yeah, we shipped a couple of updates where it was my first Mac port as well, which shipped just before PAX as well, I think.
Yeah, right, okay. So how much involvement did you have in that? Because that was obviously very text-based, so I kind of assumed
it was finished before I came on board pretty much.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
Doing like post-release patching.
Yeah, gotcha.
Everyone else has kind of rolled off and is working on other projects. It's kind of been nice to kind of dig in and fix some bugs without having to worry about stepping on other people's toes and stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting because playing it really felt like a game that you could have made in terms of just that rich story driven sort of thing.
Yeah, cheers. I can't take credit for the writing. That's
No.
a guy whose name I cannot remember, and I feel super bad. He just released a book called I think it's Blackbird or Black something, which also makes me feel really embarrassed because I can't go, he's a cool dude who made some cool work, go and check his stuff out.
That's okay. But if you do find
he's
out
in
who
the
it
credits
is,
for the game. If you
he's in the credits. He's in the credits.
You know, you can find it.
But if you do remember, we can we're gonna upload these videos separately as well, so we can we can add that into the notes also.
Sweet. I like the pitch of like you play as the AI on board the last starship to leave Earth. Like that just sounds really compelling.
Absolutely. All right, but I want to talk about your stuff.
Yes, sorry. So I'm also working on a 64 by 64 pixel space exploration trading combat game called Hidden
That is a lot of game to put into 64 by 64. Holy crap!
Oh, it is. Like I've never worked on anything that small. I don't really do pixel art. Like I'm an artist, but I'll normally do like vector stuff that's huge. Yeah. So it's been like a really fun challenge to like really just go like 64 by 64. What can we do?
Wow.
I also worked on a sort of visual novel type thing called The Farrier, where you play as like a dinosaur farrier who learns that she can speak to dinosaurs and stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
I just like so many different little things, and I made like a first-person ice skating combat game where you alternate between A and D to move forward. So you
I saw that as well. Cool. Oh my gosh, I love that. You seem like the sort of guy that there's a 64 by 64 thing. You go, okay, let's make a rich strategy game. I love that. That's so cool, man. Hey, Elo Poppet has said, I asked if anyone had any questions, and Elo Poppet has said, honestly, I'm just engrossed in the concept. It's an entirely new idea, which is awesome.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we thought as well. Like, it's been a really, really long time since I've seen something that isn't every other game.
Right. And I guess this is what I was getting at before, is that maybe this is a new genre, and that makes it impossible to describe to anyone.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Absolutely.
If I've totally missed the cue and you were encouraging me to talk about other things that I've made with the engine, I can totally do that.
I saw there was a few. So have you made all of those projects that were with the Icicle engine, or have other people already jumped in and started making things too?
So I ran a game jam in November last year to invite people to give me feedback on those editor tools that I was talking about. And two of the things in the Icicle showcase came out of that. One is Babu, which was made by Time Gentleman. He's half of Been There, Dan That.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool.
And the other one is Good Doctor, which is made by a guy named Bales, and it's really cool.
Nice.
But all the other things are by me. My Colossal Cave remake. Colossal Cave is like the first text adventure from the 70s.
Right.
And I was like, it would be really cool to tap into this heritage that I'm kind of celebrating a little bit, and just kind of rework it and refashion it to exist in my engine. It's still work in progress, but I'm looking forward to hopefully tying that up at some point.
That's so cool.
But the most recent thing I did was a re-release of a little game jam game I made called The Spicy Meatball Saves the Day! In which you play a superhero who gets distracted by a burning building on their way home from fighting crime.
Of course. That's amazing.
And I also made another small game for a game jam called Voices of the Past. So like Spicy Meatball Saves the Day is kind of like slightly comedic. And it's much more adventure gamey than this one. So there's like a few dead ends and you can die, and it's like puzzle structure is way more complex.
Right.
But Voices of the Past has this kind of like spoke and wheel thing, or hub and spoke thing going on, where you play as a person in a retirement home who doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't really know who she is or why she's there. And you can look at things in the room that remind her of stuff from her past, and you can go into her memories and sort of rebuild this sense of who she is, and at the end maybe have an idea of what her identity is. So there's like 3 different games between this, Spicy Meatball, and Voices. Is like 3 games that use the same interface but express that very, very differently.
Yeah, very, very different narratives, that's for sure. So out of those 3, what made you decide to pursue Winter's Wake as the main project?
Winter's Wake was first. Like that was
right.
None of these existed. They were things I've made while I've been working on Winter's Wake.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is like the genesis. For
yeah.
It all. Yeah.
This is the big project, and the other things are little experiments or fun things to play with along the way.
Okay, I have a question from the group. So with those other people that jumped in, how did other people get to make Babu and the Good Ghost Doctor? And is it possible for people to make their own game with using those tools, or is it not really ready for the public to use yet?
I want to make sure that it has a good first impression for people who want to actually like properly use it.
Yeah.
But for anyone who's like interested in helping out with giving feedback on like to give an idea, it doesn't have like mouse caret selection. You can't click in the middle of the text and start typing. You've got to use the cursor keys to move the cursor around to where you want to type. Like it's that kind of stuff. So like you can't just sit down and feel like it's a good tool to use. Like it's got a lot of rough edges, and those things are things I'm definitely going to address. They're just lower priority than other things that I need to deal with first. So for anybody who's interested in that kind of thing, they can send me an email to like contact@icicle-engine.org.
Nice.
And next time I am looking for feedback, I will reach out to people and see who's keen.
Well, there you go, Frederick. You might have a bit of an in there. Now, Metric Dunn just said, I just want to thank Cheese for taking the chance and trying something genuinely original. His curiosity is piked.
That's super cool. I'm very flattered by that, but I really feel that and I had this thing with Flat as well, is that people going, oh wow, it's so innovative to have like this like ice skating combat thing that's like got 2D sprite first person things like Wolfenstein 3D and has movement mechanics based upon like Epic's winter games that I used to play on the Amiga. Like they're clearly iterations on things that I used to appreciate. I feel like it's very difficult for me to call this original, both from a technical perspective and a like a storytelling perspective. I'm leaning very heavily on things that influenced me in the past. I'm combining them in interesting ways, but yeah, it's difficult for me as a creator to see them as original because they are so much a part of the things that have touched and inspired me over the course of my life.
I completely agree with all of that, but at the same time, don't sell yourself short. You've taken something and made something genuinely new, and that is genuinely really cool. And that's why we wanted to get you on. We wanted people to see this, and I think having this played, although by Barry is not the best thing, is a really cool way for people to actually see what the experience is like to play it.
Hey, if you're already in the healer's place, you're doing great.
Oh, you're doing well, Baz. There you go.
Thank you very much, Cheese. Appreciate it.
Did you skip any stones on the lake while you were there? I wasn't watching.
Did you skip any stones?
Oh man, because I saw the bell, and I saw that it's like there's a guy sleeping above the bell, and like he's not awake yet, even though you call out. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna need something to hit that bell. Went to the lake, and it's like I looked down, saw a pebble, and I'm like, and instead of being like, I'm gonna take some time myself and skip a pebble, I'm just like, ha ha, time to hit the bell.
Yes.
I get to throw rocks at things.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, since you didn't skip the pebbles, you will get killed.
I'll get the bad ending. Yeah, that's a fair call.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Now, one last question, and we'll have to let you go, Cheese. So Frederick's just asking, how much will be the game? Let me try that again in English. How much will the game be, and when are you looking at getting it completed? Or do you not know yet?
So I'm a solo dev, right? And that means if I get sick, or if I need sleep, or if I need a break, or anything, like everything slows down. There's no one else who's going to pick up the slack. So when Defiant said, hey, you want to help us out with launch stuff? Because we could really appreciate it. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do that. So prior to that happening, my plan was, let's work as though we're going to ship this year, whether we do or not. And right now I'm feeling like that's less and less likely.
Sure.
So sometime early next year. And there was a question about price as well. So I'm thinking, again, haven't really locked anything in, but I'm thinking around the $10 mark.
Okay, I think that's completely fair. And one last question, which I think has been an ongoing question. What platforms will the game launch on? Is it just PC or across the board?
I am planning to launch on Linux, Mac, and Windows.
Nice.
I don't have any other plans like locked in at the moment. For me personally, those are the platforms that I care about. But as far as the engine itself goes, I appreciate that other people will want to ship on other platforms. So I think that's stuff I'm going to investigate down the track. And that, of course, is me asking about platforms. That's like, in case you guys didn't know.
No, I didn't. Is you asking every time? Foiled again. Oh my god, I love that. That's cool. I love the idea that like there's 3 platforms that you want to work on, but you're also happy to develop for platforms since it is an engine and you want it to be open.
Right. And I mean that's why I'm supporting Linux. I mean, I gotta be honest. I don't run Linux, and I don't enjoy supporting Linux, but I do it because it makes sense to do.
Yeah.
And don't really want to limit people to what they can check out and what they can make use of.
Absolutely. Okay, we do have to leave it there, Cheese. Thank you so much. This game is so interesting,
worries.
and all the stuff that you're working on is really interesting as well. So I get the feeling that we'll probably be talking again with one of your other 15 projects.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to skip that pebble. Oh, here we go.
Now, did you have any other places that people can find you before we let you go?
So on Twitter, I am at Valiant Cheese. On Twitter, I am also at Winter's Wake Game, and I think I'm at Icicle Engine. I don't know. I've got more stuff though. You just go to winterswake.com and you can find stuff about the game there.
Nice one. Awesome. Thank you so much, mate. We'll speak to you soon. Have a good rest of the night, all right?
Thanks for joining us, Cheese.
No worries. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Same here. Catch you, mate.